Get excited, because in this section, we're going over the real heart of the course creation process, producing your course. Producing your course is where the rubber meets the road. You're already an expert in your course topic, and you're halfway to becoming a published Udemy instructor. We're here to help you become an all-star course producer as well, even if you've never heard of the words editing software before. Since we've already covered how to plan out your curriculum, we'll be diving right into the nitty-gritty of video production with this section. We'll go over how to evaluate the equipment you have to see if it will work for shooting your course. And if it doesn't, don't worry. We've got plenty of tips for getting great video production equipment on the cheap, and sometimes even for free. In the next lecture, we'll touch on test videos, a super important step of the course creation process. We'll go over what they are, why we recommend doing them, and also how you actually go about uploading your first test video onto the site. After test videos, we'll give you some tips and tricks for shooting and editing your course. We'll also provide several different resources where you can find additional help. We'll touch on some common issues that the Udemy review team sees, and we'll give you our top tips for fixing them. Then we'll quickly cover how to upload your videos into your course outline, and you'll be on your way to winning an Oscar for Best Direction in no time. We know that learning how to produce your own videos can seem frustrating, but I want to remind you we're here to support you every step of the way. If you ever have a technical question that you can't figure out, post it in the studio. If you ever want feedback from the Udemy review team at any step of your production process, just upload a test video. We are here for you. So I'll see you in the next lecture where we'll go over equipment. About shooting your videos, we like to say that it's all about the magician, not the wand. What does that mean? It means that when you're shooting your videos, you'll need to make sure that you're paying attention to how you, the magician, are coming across. Are you engaging with the camera? Are you communicating your passion for your topic? Are you speaking in interesting tones? Or are you speaking in a monotonous way that could bore your students? All of these are super important to pay attention to. That being said, the rest of this lecture will help you select the right wand to make you your best magician or instructor or something like that. Now that I've butchered that metaphor, let's get into what sorts of equipment will work for shooting your course. Let's start with the cameras. You can shoot videos in a couple different ways, including with the screencast program or with a camera. With either setup, you'll have to make sure you're shooting in 720p HD. You'll also want to make sure you're using a widescreen setting, so your video fills the entire screen, like this one does. Most of you probably already have HD cameras on hand. For instance, most smartphones shoot in 720p HD, as do many DSLR cameras and webcams. To see exactly how to check whether your camera does shoot in HD, or to see some recommendations for cameras or screencast programs, check out the resources in the supplemental materials section. Next, it's time to find your voice. Let's talk microphones. Getting crisp audio for your videos is crucial. Imagine if you were listening to this course, but in the background of the audio was a really annoying, high-pitched whistling sound. You probably wouldn't stick around for long. The supplementary materials for this lecture have recommendations for great microphones in all price ranges, as well as tips and tricks for setting up your recording room to maximize the quality of your audio. Just one general tip, getting good audio from your webcam or from your camera itself is really tough. We highly recommend getting a microphone, and we'll keep this lecture fresh with the latest and greatest audio and video tools that our instructors are finding success with. Speaking of supplemental resources, this lecture has some really exciting materials for you to check out. We have, as I mentioned, different types of microphones and cameras that your fellow instructors have used and loved. But we also have some articles from a few best-selling Udemy instructors about how to get their look. We've included some of their course lectures as well as the exact equipment they use to produce their courses. However you want your course to look, we've got the recommendations for how to get there. Equipment is just one piece of the puzzle for creating an amazing course. Next, we'll move on to talking about test videos and how to ask for feedback.
Hello, my name's Len Smith, and as you probably guessed from my accent, I'm based in the UK. Now, I've been a Udemy instructor for 3 years now, and I've just launched my 10th course. I'm looking forward to sharing this lesson with you, a very simple tip to reduce the horror of seeing ourselves on screen. I hope you enjoy it. I hate my face. I suspect this might be the biggest single thing inhibiting people from appearing to camera. But why do so many people hate seeing themselves on video? It's usually one of two reasons. Well, it can be both, of course. It's either their appearance. God, I'm overweight. I'm so wrinkled. I look like a pickled walnut. I'm bald. I've got a big nose and so on. Or it's their performance. Whatever happened to my enthusiasm? Why do I look so stiff, so damned unfriendly? Most of the course is devoted to performance, but I'd just like to spend a few moments focusing on how we look. If we can put our own vanity aside, do you really think people care about our features? Sure, they want to know what we're like as a person. Can they trust us? Will they have faith in what we're saying? But you can be sure they won't be obsessing about the size of my nose or the fact that my skin is as smooth as a lizard's. Fortunately, there is something we can do to tone down our imperfections. And I'm not talking about makeup or anything like that. And it works. First, just don't fill the entire screen. No point in putting them off their breakfast. I love this concept of picture-in-picture. It's often abbreviated to PIP. They do it a lot on TV news, so people are getting used to seeing the format. It gives us an opportunity to reinforce what we're saying with text and with images. And by shrinking the image of myself down to just a quarter of the screen, you're spared most of the horror. While my face is only a fraction the size of a full-screen headshot, you can still get a very true impression of the real me.
I'm also a Udemy instructor and I create content for YouTube and Instagram. You can find my course in the link right there. In this class, I'm gonna share with you some tips on how you can show your personality on camera and engage with your students. So let's just dive in. Tip número 1. Be real, but not creepy. Talk to your audience as if they were people that you just met at an informal dinner party, not as if they were your best friends. Be 100% you, but the way you would present yourself to potential friends. For example, I curse a lot with my close friends, but they know me and they love my sarcastic and dry humor. When I meet new people, I tell jokes, I keep my goofy style, I keep my sense of humor, but I just tone down a little bit the cursing and the sarcasm. Not because I am embarrassed about it, but because it can be overwhelming to throw every single aspect of my personality to strangers. Tip número 2. This is not a theater improvisation class, my friend. Be prepared. Be prepared. Be prepared. Always have a script written by you to guide you during the shooting. It's okay to improvise. I do it a lot. I knew this house was haunted. But since you were speaking with a camera, it doesn't come as naturally as if you were talking to a friend. And then you ask, how can I possibly sound natural if I have a script? Do this. When you finish writing the script, rehearse it so you can feel and you listen if it sounds like you. Then fill the gaps with your own wordings, expressions, slangs. Tip número 3. It's not a bad time yet. You must make sure that your audience is entertained, otherwise they will fall asleep. Here are some tips to get their attention until the end of the video. Ask questions related to the topic, but also personal questions. For example,
raise your hands if you have done XXXX.
Tell them personal anecdotes, stories that are related to the topic. For example, I love to tell stories about my grandmother and our relationship with fashion.
Tip número 4. Be respectful of your students.
Be respectful of people's time and ears. The videos are not about you. It's all about making people feel heard and understood, meaning that you should be entertaining but within the topic. For example, I add a lot of comedy to my videos, but because I believe that my clients feel that the fashion industry can be very cold and intimidating. They love to learn about style and how to dress the best in a very relaxed and funny way. Everything that I say, there is a purpose, particularly the jokes. Tip número 5. Being a copycat is super lame. You might think that it's okay to go around and imitate someone else's style, but the viewers can feel that you are faking. It is so clear when someone is trying to be someone else, and then you won't be able to keep up for a long time. Instead, show the best version of yourself. Try it out, different ways to say things, and try to feel comfortable.
Tip número 6. It can get awkward.
When you start filming, the first minutes, you're always more stiff, more nervous. No matter how many times you filmed before, the starting of a shooting days is always a little bit awkward. And the first seconds of any video is the most important time when you are trying to grab people's curiosity by, So to make sure that you look and you sound fresh from the start of the video, follow this.
The key point of this presentation is that delivery, the way you give your speech or presentation, is just as important as the content. The first point I would make is that you can use emphasis as a technique to really punch home a point you want to make. So you can drive home the emphasis you want to make on a particular word so that it really resonates with the audience. You can use inflection by ending sentences on a higher note or going down at the end of the sentence and really making the point very seriously. And by raising and lowering the pitch of your voice, you make it much more interesting to listen to. Pauses, dramatic pauses, are wonderful. Nothing succeeds like a good pause. You really get the audience in the palm of your hand, and they're at that point hanging on your every word. It's much, much more effective than speaking very quickly, because if you suddenly pause, then that change of pace and that gap makes them sit up and pay attention and wait to hear what you're going to say next. Absolutely brilliant technique. You must use it. Volume, the way you use the volume in your voice, can also be a very effective tool, because you can talk very quietly and that will get them to draw forward and listen in. You don't have to shout the whole time, but again, if you want to add energy to your voice, you can add volume to it and really build up to a crescendo. And by altering the volume as you go through, you also make your whole conversation with your